It is now time, ladies and gentlemen, for you to apply all of what you've learned about game design over the past few months to create your own epic masterpiece. So the purpose of this lesson is to just give you an introduction to the Create Your Own Game project. So, of course, our ultimate goal is to let's apply what we've learned about game design. Let's actually apply it into our own game of our own design. So here are some things that we will expect you to do. You're going to generate ideas, you're going to be creative, you're going to take risks. Take risks meaning like try something new. Try it out. You're going to design for the player experience you want. You're going to design game mechanics. You're going to connect mechanics with a theme. Design risk versus reward, very, very important part of your game. We need player choice, strategy opportunities. You're going to try and balance luck versus skill. You're going to prototype your game. You're going to clearly write the rules for your game. You're going to play test it multiple times, get feedback, and then you're definitely going to make more adjustments based on that feedback. Continue play testing and keep adjusting it. You're going to analyze your own game, and once you're completely done with all this, you are going to sell your game and make millions of dollars. Here are our learning targets that we are going to assess in this project that you can design and create player experience, that you can design and create gameplay like player choice versus risk versus reward, just balance skill versus luck, that you can create game mechanics, you can actually write out the rules for your game, and that you can utilize the game design process. A big part of that, of course, is using feedback and adjusting your game based on feedback. Here are some things to avoid. Here are some no-nos. We are not going to design a game that is just linear, meaning kind of one path, and has little to no player choice. For example, Candyland. We've spent months learning about game design. We are beyond designing something like Candyland. We are beyond designing something like the Game of Life. The Game of Life, you make maybe a couple choices in the beginning. There's not much choices after that. You spin a dial and there's kind of one path. It's linear. There's not really much for strategy, player choice. We're beyond this. This is not okay at this point for us. We are not going to design trivia, quiz, or dare type games. We're not going to design like let's flick a piece of paper type games. Apples to apples type games we're going to avoid. We're also going to avoid, hey, let's travel around the board on one path type games. Let's roll the dice. You get a number, go around the board. Or here's a bubble with a dice, push it, you get a number, go around the board. Or pull a card, it gives you a number, a color, or whatever, go around the board. Like I'm challenging you to go beyond this and be more creative than just rolling a dice or picking a number and then traveling around the board. We can do something other than that. So what we are trying to do is make a well-designed tabletop game. Notice it says tabletop. And we're designing in player choice, risk versus reward, balancing skill versus luck. All this stuff you are like purposely thinking through and designing in. Should be 2 to 4 players. And we want it to be able to be played within about 20 minutes. So you set it up, play it, and let's say you finish it in around 20 minutes. If it takes 60 minutes or longer, that's kind of too long. You're not going to get as many play tests in, and your play testers are probably going to get annoyed. And then if it's too short, like if it's like 2 minutes, then it's probably not complicated enough. Now, one thing I want to show you is these games are all really good right here. And all of these games, they do not involve just rolling a dice and traveling around a board, traveling around a path. None of these games do that. So for us, like, it's okay if you want to make a game that is solely based on cards. For example, Sushi Go is just based on cards. It's a very, very good game. The same thing with Magic the Gathering, that's just based on cards. Yu-Gi-Oh, those are just based on cards. Those are good games. Coup is another example. Coup is like a social deduction game, and it involves lots of communicating, it involves line, and it kind of relies on these cards. Making a game based on tiles or physical thing, like physical shape type things that you got to move is definitely okay as well. The big point of this, though, is that I want you to think about what your theme is, and whatever your theme is, the parts that you make, the pieces that you make, whether it's cards or other parts, tiles, whatever, that should all line up well with your theme, and then of course work well with your mechanics. If you want to do any of these things here, you're going to need permission. So if you want to design some sort of physical game, like a sport type game, that might get approved. We just got to talk it through a little bit, you and I, and see if your ideas are going to meet kind of what we're looking for. The same thing if you want to design a video game, this is really we're only really gonna allow that for people that have a lot of programming experience already, just because in terms of making a video game, like you got programming aspect and then you have the game design aspect. It just takes more time to make a video game. And then in terms of a single player game, if you want to make some sort of single player type game, let's talk about that. Let's just make sure that it's meeting these expectations and go from there. So here are our kind of different stages that we'll go through in terms of your game design project. So stage 1 is you're essentially going to mentally design it, mentally play your game. That means you're going to picture it in your brain, like you know you're doing it right. If you're like laying there and you're sleeping and you're dreaming of your game, or you wake up in the morning and you kind of dreamt about it, like that's how you know that you're really thinking it through a lot. So we're going to definitely generate ideas. You're going to design, for example, things like the win condition and so on. You're going to explain this. So this is all going to be like explained. And then what's going to happen is I'll give you feedback on these ideas. And once these ideas sound like they're meeting expectations, then we'll have you move forward to stage 2. Stage 2 we call the rough, ugly prototype and playtest stage. So this is about you trying some of these ideas that you had. Just finding a way. It doesn't mean you have to play, like, let's say, play through the whole game and have all your rules written out. It's just a matter of play testing some of your different ideas, seeing what's going to work, what's not going to work, and making adjustments. But then once we get to stage 3, that's where we're going to get more specific with our rules. We'll eventually actually start writing out our rules, like kind of like a professional style instruction sheet that would be included with the game. And you're definitely going to start tweaking and kind of solidifying your game exactly how it should be. Stage 4 is we're going to finish up making those parts prettier. So if you have cards or something, other parts, you're going to make them pretty. And then we're definitely going to have you analyze your game, what worked well, what didn't work well, and kind of summarize it. So if at some point you get stuck, you're like, man, I don't know what I want to do for my game, is some advice I have for you is think about what games do you enjoy, whether it be video games or tabletop games or sports. And then think about the ideas that you like in those games and kind of borrow some of those ideas and then modify them to adjust them to your theme, try and make them better, more involving, and so on. Another thing you can do is if you think about just your hobbies or themes, sports, movies you like, and just think about how can you convert some of those into a game. So those are some tips I have for you. I look forward to joining you on this journey and seeing what you create.